Okay, there's absolutely no reason to pussyfoot around this breaking story. Donald Trump is making an enemy out of every single country on the planet except Russia. And in this breaking story, I'm going to show you exactly what a major G7 country just did to us because of Donald Trump. And if you didn't hear what he said about his tariff plan, take a quick listen to this before I show you the story.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. Foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream.
And of course, in a recent White House meeting with Macron from France, Trump tried to tell this lie to his face in front of other reporters, and Macron said, not so fast, my friend, remember?
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear.
Yeah.
We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day and Russia will have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
And we think sometimes that we don't engage with the UK in terms of money and foreign trade. We think of other places like Canada and Mexico and China, etc. But you'd be surprised how much we have with the UK, and they are pissed.
So what is the mood like in the UK?
Yeah, well, similar to what Kelly was saying, stocks here falling, and the mood is very anxious. The UK doesn't just have that so-called special relationship politically with the US, right, ever since World War II, but surprise, it also has an economic special relationship. America is Britain's top trade partner, worth about something like $300 billion in imports and exports in the most recent year that we've seen. Think of things like Rolls-Royce engines going into American fighter jets. Think pharma, AstraZeneca, for example, for Americans with cancer, asthma, drugs there. Think Burberry for luxury goods, if that's your jam. Now Trump looks to use tariffs, maybe 20%, maybe 25%, maybe even 35%. We just don't know, right now, on British exports to force the UK to change its policies in order to benefit the US. Brits here, they're angry.
So in this breaking story, Macron from France just told the entire planet to tell Donald Trump to take their money and shove it. Listen to this story.
Macron calls on EU companies to freeze investments in US. French president says Europe shouldn't invest in America for some time until we have clarified things. French President Emmanuel Macron wants EU businesses to stop investing in America in response to US President Donald Trump's massive tariffs. It is important that future investments, the investments announced over the last few weeks, should be put on hold for some time, until we have clarified things with the United States of America, Macron said on Thursday, as he hosted a meeting with representatives of the sectors impacted and the government at the Élysée Palace. What message would we send by having major European players investing billions of euros in the American economy at a time when the US are hitting us? Macron continued, calling for collective solidarity. Macron's comments are seen as an attempt to dissuade French tycoons from cozying up to Trump, potentially to try to cut private deals outside regular EU trade policy. Earlier this month, Trump announced that French shipping giant CMA-CGM intended to invest 20 billion euros in the US. In January, meanwhile, Bernard Arnault, the head of luxury goods giant LVMH, said he was considering increasing investment in the US and lauded Trump's economic policy. On Wednesday, the Trump administration slapped the EU with 20% tariffs on all exports to the US in what Macron called a brutal and unfounded decision. The French president said Trump's tariffs confirmed that France had been right to push for a tougher trade policy and stronger trade defense instruments. We need to continue to accelerate at the European level with an agenda of trade protection, Macron said, citing EU duties on Chinese vehicles as an example of how the EU can up the pressure on its economic rivals. We are not naive. We are going to protect ourselves, Macron said, referring to the trade war with the US. On top of retaliatory tariffs, Macron said, Brussels should consider using the EU's so-called anti-coercion instrument against the US, a new tool in the bloc's trade arsenal that was conceived to hit countries like China, and also take measures hitting American big tech. Nothing is ruled out. All tools are on the table, Macron said.
C'est important que nous puissions nous retrouver le plus rapidement possible après les annonces de la nuit dernière du président Trump, qui sont un choc pour le commerce international, pas simplement pour l'Union européenne, la France, mais au fond pour le bon fonctionnement du commerce. C'est une ampleur qui est en tout cas inédite. Mais ce sur quoi je veux insister au début de cette réunion, c'est que l'ampleur et le caractère négatif est avant tout pour l'économie américaine. Et une chose est sûre, avec les décisions de cette nuit, l'économie américaine et les Américains, qu'il s'agisse des entreprises ou des citoyens, sortiront plus faibles qu'hier et plus pauvres.
Now, I know there are some people, even folks who might be more left-leaning or a little bit left of center, who in some ways love the disruption. They like kind of the attacking of the waste, fraud and abuse stuff, and I get that. And I'm not saying that all of it is bad. I don't agree with how it's being done, but I do agree that shaking things up and putting things, I think we should put everything under a microscope when it comes to the government. I mean, we could do it with blockchain technology, but politicians wouldn't like it. But when it comes to tariffs and when it comes to trade, you have to be careful. Not what you do, it's how you do it. If you're going to take every single ally, every friend you have in your neighborhood and piss them all off at once, because the belief or thought that the United States of America in 2025 can function truly well as an isolationist is abject moronic thinking, because we can't. So what Trump is doing, the old joke goes, is, he's pissing in his own cereal bowl. And that is going to prove to be really bad. And Macron has now actually thrown down the first gauntlet, drawn a line in the sand, and is telling all the people, nope, just pull your money back. Don't put it in, because from a macroeconomic standpoint, it doesn't take a lot, as Elon Musk has seen at Tesla, that when you have that much outlay, when you have that much capital, when you have that much exposure financially, if you don't have certain dollars coming in, you dry up in a real hurry. Donald, lighten up, Francis, to use a line from the movie Stripes. You guys, hang in there, keep smiling, stay frosty.